So again, one of the very first tools that I always introduce to my clients is an action plan. Now, the one I will show you is purely a template. But again, the essence is you writing things down is key. So with the Wheel of Life, with the goal sheet, it's all about taking things out of your head that have been buzzing around, bothering you, niggling with you, and getting them down on paper. And the action plan makes it more real. It has been proven statistically that thoughts that we must do in our head are never as executed as well as a things to do list, because we can physically see what we're supposed to do and then tick it off. So it's got lots of reasons why you need to be actually writing it down. You can pick the format. I've seen spreadsheets with traffic light systems. I've seen notebooks. It doesn't matter how it looks as much as it just has to have the key criteria. So again, I show you what I think is a really good action plan, and then you can use it to measure and come up with your own. So the aim is you break each goal into multiple aims and each aim into multiple tasks, with the view that the smaller the steps, the easier they are to take. So I mentioned in a previous segment about the analogy of climbing Mount Everest. Well, if I told somebody to go and do that next week, they wouldn't be able to. The idea is if I told somebody to go and get some mountaineering training next week, that is a much smaller task. And breaking that down further still, if I told them to do some research into where they would go to do that mountaineer training, that's even a smaller goal. So the idea is that you break it down into really bite-sized, small pieces. Because if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling anxious, if you're not feeling on the top of your game, which is why presumably you've sought out a life coach in the first place, any step can seem like a mountain. So the idea is you just say, do you know what, I'm just going to Google, mountaineering training and see what comes up. I'm going to do some research to what it would cost, what the time commitment is. And they're all little individual steps that actually don't seem too big. And then actually you're pulling all the pieces of the jigsaw together to ultimately get your main goal at the end. So your goal, let's pick a different one entirely. Your goal might be losing weight. And then your aims might be to initially review your current eating. Often, again, what we want to do is, we go on a diet, and diets are short term and diets aren't necessarily very effective. But reviewing what you're currently eating can be a really good first step. So, the first task and action might be just to record a week's worth or 2 weeks worth of what you're eating and when you're eating it. Just so you might get an idea of, actually, I thought my diet was quite good. It's, the sweets at work or the donuts at work that actually is probably tipping me over the edge. You might then need some resources. You might need how. So if you are looking at your food and your scheduling, it might be, what additional things can I put in there to review? So there might be an app that would help you review your food that you could put in that would give you either a calorie count or carbohydrates or starches or protein, whatever your goal is. So your goal might be to lose weight to get fit. Your goal might be to lose weight to get healthier. So again, it depends on what your goal is to how these tasks will be broken up. But never set yourself up to fail. It's something I tell my clients all the time. Make sure those goals, those tasks are nice and small and nice and easy. If they take you 15 minutes or less, you are more likely to do them. And once you do them, you're starting the ball rolling. So actually to then do a task or something that might take you 30 minutes or more won't seem quite as intimidating. Now, the achieved column is again really key. You need to motivate yourself to do this. Again, there is a reason why you haven't perhaps been very motivated to date. And as I explain to clients, it's because you're not aiming for something that you really want. If it's something that you really want, you can do it. So if the losing weight is coming as a pressure from a partner or family members as opposed to something you want for yourself, you are unlikely to achieve it. So this is where being really honest is important. Is this something I want for myself? And if it is, you should be able to break it down into smaller parts. Now, pacing is really key here too. So don't expect yourself to do everything by the end of the month. Give yourself a nice timeline. So back into resources, how long you take to do this is important too. So you might have a really busy life and that's why you haven't been able to do these things. So set yourself one thing a week that takes 5-15 minutes and you will find that time. Set yourself 10 things to do by the end of the week. The list can be overwhelming and you don't even know what, you won't do any of them. So pacing is really important. One thing at a time, slowly. And the last comment, as I said, is achieving. So because you're now hopefully changing your life permanently for the long term, you need to reward yourself. This also is part of the motivation. So you've identified something that you really want and that you understand what the benefits are from achieving that, but also give yourself little milestones of patting on the back. The rewards can be anything, but once you started, so if you've made that phone call, if you've done that research, if you've booked that appointment, whatever steps you've taken, you decide what is a worthy reward for that. So I had a client who had bought herself a pair of boots and she'd never worn them. So her reward for, a proportion of these tasks was to organise an event where she could go out with her friends and wear these boots. I had another client who was going to have a 9-hole round of golf. So it can vary what the rewards are, but it should be something that you in your head can attribute to. I've really put some effort in. I deserve whatever it is, a shopping spree, a pampered day, time, date night with your loved one. So it's all about a proportionate reward, but those little things that will just make you think, oh, not only have I achieved what I set out to achieve, I've made that phone call, but I also get a little extra on the top. And those will all help you can keep that momentum toward your goal. So it doesn't have to look like this, but what your action plan needs to achieve is it needs to be really clear about what the big goal is and what all those smaller tasks are, and that you need to be able to see that you're moving forward and you're achieving them. My strapline: aim, act, second, and then achieve is really fundamental. So bear that in mind. So that is the action plan.